In Luke chapter 15, many things get lost. We've been studying from this particular chapter in our Bibles for the last two Sunday sermons that we've had opportunity to get together, and today we shall continue going in that direction. In Luke chapter 15, again, as you know, several things get lost. We know from this chapter, from the stories that Jesus tells in it, that a sheep gets lost. We know also from this particular story that Jesus told that a coin gets lost. We also know from this particular story, from this particular interesting section of our Bibles, that a boy gets lost. So we lose, at least for a short period of time, a sheep, a coin, a boy. Our particular focus in this study has been on this father who for a time loses a son. And for a time, this particular son, he lost his way. He lost an inheritance. He was dead. He was separated from his father. But thankfully, he comes home. And then we are introduced to an older brother. The older brother, he didn't lose his way so much, at least not as dramatically as the younger brother, but he was lost in his own right, wasn't he? And he lost his temper. So in the midst of all these losses in Luke chapter 15, I am especially impressed by one thing that was never lost, that never goes missing, and that is the Father's love. That is the Father's love. And I would like for us to focus this morning on that particular aspect of Luke chapter 15, the Father's love, the Father's loving way in which He continued to deal with the younger brother who had broken his heart, but also in the way that He dealt with the older brother who also broke Father's heart. There are really two prodigal sons in this particular chapter. We focused especially on the younger. Now let's direct our attention to the older. This is a story, this boy coming home, coming to himself, getting out of the pig pen, heading back to the Father's love. It's a story that should have had a happier ending than the one that we're left with. And so we're somewhat frustrated by that. So let's examine that together this morning. I'd like to ask those of you back in the sound room if you would turn my microphone down just a little bit, because later on I'm going to need to raise my voice a time or two, and I can't raise it if it's already raised by you folks back there. So turn me on down. I'll speak up when I need to. Thank you for your cooperation with that. This is Luke chapter 15. I'll begin reading at verse 25. Luke 15, beginning at verse 25. Now his older son, father's older son, was in the field. And as he came and drew near to the house, he heard music and dancing. Now let's begin the lesson this morning with the idea that we're going to cut this older boy some slack. That we're not going to be as hard on him as we traditionally have been. He does have some features that are to be admired, and we just saw one of these, and that is that he's a worker. He's in the field. He's at his post. He's been brought up by dad, and hopefully he had a mother at some point in his life. He's been brought up by his parents with a work ethic. He's reliable. He's dependable. That's not a charge we can make against him today, that he hasn't been faithful to do what his mom and dad wanted him to do. He's in the field. Comes in, hears the music, hears the party. And so verse 26, so he called one of the servants and asked what these things meant. And I think we can identify with some building frustration here. Why didn't somebody go out in the field and find him and let him know your brother has come home and we're going to throw a party and we want you to be a part of this? Verse 27. And he said to him, so the servant is answering the older brother, He said to him, your brother has come, and because he there's your father, he has received him safe and sound, your father has killed the fatted calf. There's a lot in that. Do you see it? We've talked before about the fatted calf and the beauty of that and how that meant that Daddy had been expecting the boy to come home. He'd been getting the animal ready for weeks, maybe months. I want you to think about what that may have been doing to the psychology of the older brother as we try to, again, cut him some slack. Maybe it was one of his jobs to actually feed this calf, to fatten it up for the pending celebration. Maybe that was something he might resent doing. Why are we getting this calf ready for my brother when he's broken Daddy's heart, when he's done terrible things? Where's my cow? Where's my recommendation? Where's my condemnation? Where's my praise? Where's my trophy? When am I getting mine? And so maybe this is a storm that had been brewing in that boy's heart for some time. I think he rightfully recognized that his brother had done some terrible things. You remember that, don't you? You remember that what that younger brother said to his father is probably the worst thing that any boy could ever say to any dad. When he comes to him and says, Father, I would like my inheritance. What he's really saying to his father is, Daddy, I wish you were dead. I wish you were dead. Now understand, their culture is a little bit different than our culture, and I think their culture has it better than our culture. In their culture, Dad was honored. Dad was almost considered divine in the family. You didn't ever do anything to hurt Dad, to dishonor Dad, to embarrass Dad, to humiliate Dad. You remember some of the Old Testament texts that direct a really harsh form of punishment upon the child who dishonors his father or dishonors his mother. In our culture, I mean, we've really got that messed up. We really do. I'm not speaking about us in here. I'm sure that every child in here has been raised to be respectful and obedient, and you honor Mom and you honor Dad. When I say we, I'm editorializing, I'm thinking about our culture, where boys and girls, sons and daughters, dishonor Mom and Dad. Dishonor Mom and Dad by how they fail to obey Mom and Dad. Dishonor Mom and Dad by how they talk to Mom and Dad. Dishonor Mom and Dad by how they talk about Mom and Dad. It is unrighteous. It is of the devil. How some children are allowed by some parents to speak, to treat, to react. It's just so understand that we're reading about something that is kind of unrecognizable to us living in America in 2013. This is a home situation where these boys have been brought up. You don't disrespect Mom. You don't disrespect Dad. And this little boy, this younger brother, he had done precisely that. I wish you were dead. What possible thing could he have said to the father that would have hurt him more? I can't think of anything. Can you? Someone really wants to insult you today. They just walk up to you, I wish you were dead. Oh, well, that's pretty hurtful. And by the way, not only do I want you dead, I want your stuff. It's a double stab there. So, this older brother, he's been thinking about that. He's seen his daddy's tears probably every day as the older brother goes out to work. He sees Daddy standing at the gate looking for the younger brother to come home. He knows they're fattening up a calf for him. And you could just understand in that situation some resentment is starting to grow. I'm just trying to be as transparent as I can with you as we honestly examine these people in this story. And I tell you that I think I would have had some of that older brother in me. I'm an only child, but I think I would have had some of that. I think I would have been saying to my daddy, Daddy, he wants you dead. He took all your stuff. He's been a bad seed. and we're fattening a calf for Him. What are you thinking? Let's go on with our life. Let's just enjoy that we're together. Let's focus on the good that we have. He's gone and He's never coming back. The Father's love. Again, we call this the parable of the prodigal son. He should not get the headline here. It really should be the parable of the loving Father, shouldn't it? Are you still with me? This is an interesting study, isn't it? Verse 28. But he was angry. But he was angry and would not go in. You know, anger keeps us on the outside of some good stuff sometimes, doesn't it? It causes us to say some things we should not say. It causes us to do some things that we should not do. You know, I'm a sinner, you're a sinner, and as I evaluate my life, I know that I've said some dumb things. I really have. You know, you've sat in pews as I've said some dumb things. I know that. But I think, by and large, as I assess my life and my words, probably most of the time I've said something especially dumb, it was when I was angry about something. Would you say that that's been the case with you? Now, I don't think there's a man alive ever heard me use profanity. I'm not talking about that. I just say dumb things when I get angry. And I hope I've gotten better. I need to. It'd be embarrassing if I hadn't. But so we can identify with this older brother, can't we? We've all gotten angry. We've said some things we should not have said. We've done some things. And thankfully, because we still have a heartbeat, most all the things we've said or done in anger have been somewhat reversible, right? We've been able to repent of that. We've been able to get forgiveness of that. We've been able to make things right. And if we haven't made things right with those who have been victims of our anger, let's do that. Let's say the I'm sorries, and let's make amends as much as it is in our power to control. Wouldn't you agree that we ought to do that? I mean, and let's not delay in that. Let's not delay in that. We don't have as much time to make things right as we think we do. We really don't. I got online this morning and I was just really surprised to see that a girl, I'll call her a girl that I went to school with, class of 1981, Mobile Christian School. She passed away. Just, you know, it happens. It was unexpected. And it's so ironic to me. Two of the healthiest members of the class of 1981, a girl named Robin Cotton, a girl named Dana McConnell, have now stepped into eternity. And you've had that, haven't you? Whatever class you are, you go to your reunion. So you had reunions this weekend. And you go to these reunions and you see that some of the folks you thought would outlive us all, some that were so dedicated, so healthy, so conscientious, so good, better than us in some ways, they're now in eternity and we're still here. There's got to be some valuable lessons we learn from that, right? That time is precious. And if we've allowed our anger, or let's spread the umbrella out a little bit further than just saying anger, if we've allowed our emotion to cause us to cross some lines that we should not have crossed, let's get back on the God side of the line. And let's try. You know, emotion can be such a good thing. It gets us motivated, it gets us energized, but emotion can be a toxic thing for us. You remember Ephesians 4:26, it says, "Be angry and sin not, let not the sun go down on your wrath." And at that same section of Scripture, Paul says, "And do not give a place," my translation of it, "do not give a place in your heart for the devil to gain a foothold." And I don't think it's coincidental that he's talking about emotion, and then right after that he's talking about allowing the devil to gain a foothold or gain some ability to control you or influence you. Because Paul was a fiery fella. Paul probably crossed that line himself, just like you and I have. So let's just kind of, what do we used to say? Take a chill pill and just kind of let things calm down. Let's catch our breath. Let's count to 100, to 1,000 if we need to, before we say something that's going to be hurtful, before we do something that's kind of hard to undo. This boy was angry He was really angry. I think a festering anger had now boiled up to the surface, and he doesn't go into the party. And it hurts his father. His father's already been hurt by the younger, now he's going to be hurt by the older. He was angry and would not go in. Now notice this. Therefore, his father came out and pleaded with him. This is such a great father. By the way, talking about culture and all, I mentioned that one thing in their culture is really big is honor father, honor mother. That's important to them. But another thing really big in their culture is honor your guest. Honor your guest. You remember when Lot had those two male angels come and visit him, and the townsmen, these barbarians show up and they want to do ungodly things with these two male guests, that Lot really goes the extra mile to protect these angels, to protect these men, because that's just the way ancient culture was. If someone was your guest, they were honored by you. They were put on a pedestal by you. You attended to their every wish. That's just, and in other cultures, and we do that pretty well in America, but other cultures trump us. You go to Ukraine, for example, and you're a guest in their home, and a lot of times you'll leave with a gift from them. They will escort you back to the place where you live. You know, when you've left their home as their guest. They're taking responsibility for your upkeep, for your safety, for your joyfulness. So when this father leaves the guest to go out to his son, some of those guests would rightfully interpret this as somewhat insulting. He's thrown a party, and we're here, and he's left us. What's he thinking? Where's he gone? Just kind of an unusual step for the father. But he loves that boy. He loves that boy. And by the way, we can probably reasonably infer there were a lot of guests at this party, because this is a fatted calf. This is a big animal. It'll feed all the neighbors. And this, you know, when the boy left the dad, he left the community. That hurt a lot of people. And they're all happy he's come home. They're all excited. They all want to participate in the celebration. Kind of like church, right? When someone who's been away comes back, we all want to hug that neck. We all want to celebrate. We all want to welcome them home. This father goes out to have a talk with his son. What an interesting conversation this is. You notice that word, pleaded with him. This is a begging father. He's so remarkable to me. Isn't he to you? Look at 29. So he answered and said to his father, Lo, these many years I have been serving you. Again, I think we need to cut the man some slack and recognize that he's a worker. He's a servant. He's gotten some things right. I've been serving you. Father doesn't call him on that. Say, well, you've been pretty lazy, actually. No, I think he has been serving. And then he says this, I never transgressed your commandment at any time. Now, I don't know if that's exactly the case or not, but I imagine it's pretty close. It's pretty accurate, wouldn't you say? Saying, I've been an obedient boy. I've done what you told me to do. Never transgressed your commandment. And yet, now here's where anger kind of creeps back in, doesn't it? And yet, you never gave me a young goat. You've given him a fatted calf. You've given him the best food that we can have on the farm. And to use it, to update it to our terminology, you never even gave me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That's what he's saying. How many of you ever eaten goat? All right, I think the father's doing him a favor by never giving him goat. The goat I tasted one time, but so I can't really identify with the boy here on this point. But you get the application, right, that he's trying to make here. You've done a wonderful thing for him, and he broke your heart. He insulted you. He blew much of your inheritance. You never given me anything. And he's just angry. And he's being unreasonable. He's being reckless. He's being hurtful. He's probably being disingenuous also, because when you go back to verse 12, this is the launching point of this parable. A certain man had two sons. The younger of them said to his father, Father, give me, the bad phrase, give me the portion of goods that falls to me. So he divided to them his livelihood. Both boys got a whole lot more than a goat from Dad. Anger kind of blinds us, right? He's blinded a little, causes us to be a little bit forgetful, causes us to speak in absolutes. You never do this. You always do this. That's not true. I'm just angry. I'm just angry. He's angry. You never even gave me a goat. And you see this phrase, this gave me. One of the bad phrases younger boy uses is give me, and now the older brother, he's kind of changed the tense of it, gave me. You never gave me. Y'all can put verse 29 back up, please. You never gave me a young goat. Now notice kind of the selfish direction here. You never gave me a young goat that I might make merry with my friends. He's kind of getting in love with himself a little bit here, isn't he? But again, I don't want to be too hard on him. He served his father. I think he left the father without leaving the house, but he didn't as flamboyantly harm Daddy as younger son had. Verse 30. Catch the way he puts this. But as soon as this son of yours came, he's no longer his brother. He's not my brother, he's yours. He's still willing to be his father's son. He's just not willing to be his brother's brother now. You got brothers like that you struggle with, sisters like that you struggle with. He's your son. He's not my brother. Who has devoured your livelihood. Another way of saying it, he's devoured your life with harlots. Now, how does he know that? There are a lot of lessons in this for us in 2013. Seems like one of the lessons we ought to get out of this is let's not assume the worst of people. Let's not assume the worst. He's assuming the worst, isn't he? He's devoured your livelihood with harlots. What, did he follow him? Has he been listening to gossip? He didn't know it was home. So he surely, seems like he's got an issue that he needs to work on, that maybe we need to work on too. Shouldn't we always try to put the best possible construction on another person's behavior? When we can assume the best, let's assume the best. When we can give the benefit of the doubt to somebody, why not give the benefit of the doubt? Why go through life always trying to impugn motives, question, well, I don't know why they're doing that. We don't know. We can't know. We can assume, we can guess, we can speculate, we can gossip, we can surmise, and that's the devil's business. That's not our business. That's not the business of good people. Verse 31. And he said to him, son. By the way, this word son there in the original language, that is a very compassionate form of that word. You remember when Jesus got in trouble with Mary and Joseph and they go back to the temple, he's 12 years old and they find him. You remember what Mary said? Son, why have you done this to us? Can't you see we've sought you sorrowing? That word son there that she uses for Jesus, that's the same word that his father uses for his older son. It's a term of great affection and concern. Son, you are always with me. That's another reason I think we cut this older boy some slack. Father really is praising him here. You're always with me. You didn't do to me what the little one did. And notice this. And all that I have is yours. So he's trying to reason with him. In a sense, this is defense of joy, isn't it? He's trying to explain why you should be happy, why I'm happy. Verse 32, it was right that we should make merry and be glad. Why? For your brother was dead. Dead means separated. He was separated from the Father, separated from his good sensibilities, separated from his value system. He was dead for a time and is alive again. He's had this resurrection and was lost and is found. Be happy, son. Come in and eat with us. Enjoy the celebration. I didn't just get my son back, you got your brother back. Now, isn't it mysterious that Jesus leaves us hanging here? We don't know how the story ends, do we? I want to believe, can't we assume the best? I've preached it, let's practice it now. Can't we assume the best of this boy? That he did listen to his father, and he did decide, Daddy's been right. And I'm going to just calm down, catch my breath. I'm hurting myself. I've been working all day. If anybody ought to eat some of that, I've been feeding that thing. I'm going to eat some of this steak now. So he goes in. I just want to believe that he hugs that younger brother. There's a bunch of tears. Younger brother says to his older brother, to his father again, I'm sorry. You see, the older brother didn't see what Daddy saw, did he? He didn't see the rags his younger brother was wearing. He didn't see the starvation that was walking down that road. He didn't see that pitiful skeleton of a kid who's coming home. He didn't hear the remorseful speech, I'm no longer willing to, or worthy to be your son. Just make me one of your hired servants. And he would say the same to his older brother, I'm not willing to be your brother anymore. I'm sorry. I'm so thankful that boy had that attitude. He didn't come back arrogantly. He didn't come back blaming Daddy for not holding him in, older brother for not locking him in his room. He came back, he's just humble, he's been wrong and he knows it. He's been dead, he's been looking dead, he's been acting dead. Now he's getting a heartbeat back and he's getting a blessing he does not deserve. Does that sound anything familiar to us in our experience with God? And what he wanted of this family back then and what he wants of this family here and the now. Do you agree with that? That what this father's wanting, what he's asking of his older brother, let's just get along. Let's just love one another. Let's just forgive. And that's what God wants of the Tuscumbia Church of Christ. Doesn't he? Doesn't he want us to, if we've left home, if we've left the Lord's family, He wants us to come home. That's what He wants. He wants us to enjoy the fatted calf. He wants us to enjoy the celebration. You know, all these verses in our Bible, Luke 15 has about 3 of them, talks about this rejoicing in heaven when one sinner repents and all. And we often pray that we're thankful when someone returns that the angels are rejoicing. You know, the Bible never says that. The Bible never says that the angels are rejoicing when you and I return to the Lord. Now, I'm not saying they don't rejoice. I'm sure they do. But the Scripture says that there is rejoicing in the presence of the angels. Who's in the presence of the angels? The Father. He's the one with the smile. He's the one that's rejoicing most. He's the one that's given a son. He's the one that's created this person in His own image. He's the one who wants the return more than any other. So He's the one celebrating. And so to make it a Tuscumbia Church of Christ issue now, to make it an issue for you and me, we see that we have got to have the attitude of the father, not the attitude of the older brother. That we've got to be willing to forgive one another. We've got to be willing to be welcoming of those who come home. You see, we came into God's family because we were loved into it, right? Somebody loved you. Somebody invited you. Somebody taught you. Somebody brought you because you were loved. And why do we stick and stay? Why are we still here? Because we've been loved here. This is a place where love grows. Now, if you're the type of person that is sitting here, when I say because we've been loved here, if you're just intuitively, instinctively, then just going to be thinking about the times you've not been loved, the times you've been mistreated, I'm begging you to not be that person. Don't be that guy. Don't be that gal. Don't give yourself a miserable existence. I know, I can do that. I can play that bad game too. I can scan the audience and maybe occasionally pick out a person. I just wish they'd be nicer to me. I just wish they'd be nicer to their wife or do a little bit better job towards mom or dad or to their whatever. I can play that game and be miserable too. But I choose not to do that. I choose not to do that, and I encourage you to choose not to do that too. I choose, and I made this choice a while back, and it saved my sanity, I think. I choose to scan the audience and see wonderful people. People that I know love me. People that would never hurt me deliberately in any way. people that love God, people that serve, people that have given everything for the cause of Christ. Those are the champions among us. And that's the love that we highlight. That's the love that we lift up, that we embrace, that we promote. And that's the love that makes us want to be Christians. That's the love that comes to us through other people from God, right? It came down vertically and it goes out horizontally, and we get to be blessed by that. And now we foster that, right? Love brought us in. It keeps us in. And for those who have left, it'll be love that'll bring them back. It won't be fear going to hell. It won't be wanting to get a grand prize of heaven one day. It'll be our love for them that says no matter what you've done, no matter what you've become, we love you and we want you to come home. That was Christ's prayer in John 17. That God's family be one, that we be united, that we be kind, that we be loving. Ephesians 4:32 says, "And be ye kind one to another, tenderhearted, forgiving one another, even as God for Christ's sake hath forgiven you." That's addressed to the church, to the family of loving people. Let's be that. Let's do that. When you come back tonight, we're going to ask and answer the question, why is all this here? Why did Jesus take the time to tell them and us about this sheep, this coin, and this boy that got lost? We'll go in that direction tonight. I hope you'll come back. I hope you will. I want to end this lesson with one of my favorite stories. It's the story of this girl. Her name is Christina. She lives just outside the dangerous city of Rio. She's growing up. They have no father in the home. Her mother is named Maria. And Christina is one of these sweet little girls who's kind of getting tired of Mama's rules, and she tells Mama, one day when I get a little bit bigger, I'm going to run away, and I'm going to go to Rio, and I'm going to live my life, right? Kind of reliving of this story of this prodigal boy. And so one day Mom comes home from work, and sure enough, her daughter Christina has packed up and taken some stuff in Mama's heart and gone to Rio. And Mom knows what she needs to do. So she goes to the bank. She gets all their money, and it's not much, but she gets everything she has. And she's going to go to Rio, and she's going to find Christina. And she looks for Christina everywhere. Can't find her. Looks in the bad places especially. The bars, the seedy hotels, the more dangerous places of town. Can't find her. And she's almost now out of money and knows she's got to go back home, and it's breaking her heart. She decides with the last few dollars she has left, she's going to go into one of these photo booths, and she's going to have as many of her own pictures made as she can. And she makes a bunch of these pictures of herself, and she puts these pictures up all over those kind of bad places of town, in certain bar rooms and hotel areas, and you know. And so then she goes home to pray and to await, hopefully, the arrival of her daughter one day. And her heart is broken. Can you imagine? So she goes home, she's there. Meanwhile, Christina is in the big city of Rio, and she's doing a lot of bad things, really. But one night, after just a terrible night of doing terrible things, that night finally passes, and she's walking through one of the lobby areas of one of these garbage hotels. And she sees something on a wall that is familiar to her. And it's a picture of her mother. And she runs over there, and she pulls that picture down, and man, the tears are just coming down. She realizes her mom has been here. Her mom loves her. And she notices that Mom has written something on the back of this little picture. It says, "My dearest Christina, no matter what you've done, no matter what you have become, I love you. Please come home." And I'm happy to report that she went home. And what'd she get? She got forgiveness. She got love. She got the same thing the younger boy got in our story. They got the same thing we get when we come home. If you've been in a far country, I hope you'll come home. And if you've been with the Father's house and the Father's love the whole time, I hope we'll all be accommodating and welcoming to those who do come home. There are folks today that are out in the pig pen, and we got to go get them. We got to go love them back. And let's make that our priority. Would you pray with me, please?